If you love music and you love comedy, you love Weird Al Yankovic.
Duh.
And if you've ever seen Weird Al play live, you know he puts on an incredible show.
Double duh.
You guys want to know a fun Birds fact?
Yes.
Very first concert I ever went to, 4th grade, me and my buddy Brian. Parents bought us 4th grade graduation tickets. I went and saw Weird Al live at the Paramount. You want to know what? He puts on an incredible show. And also, we went around the back and we waited for him to sign autographs. And he not only signed an autograph, he had a very pleasant, very kind-hearted conversation with extremely anxious meeting his hero, 4th grade Birds. I'll never forget it. A real
Birds
class act.
is apparently Ted Mosby.
Well, Birds, your 4th grade year was at least 3 years ago. But now, Al just wrapped up his ridiculously self-indulgent, ill-advised vanity tour, where for the first time, he played his original songs, classics like Dare to Be Stupid, Buy Me a Condo, and more. There were 77 performances on this tour, and every show is unique with a different set list, professionally mixed and mastered, and includes Al's impromptu stage banter. And guess what? With Stitcher Premium, not only do you get Weird Al's ridiculously self-indulgent, ill-advised vanity tour, but you also get access to 21,000 hours of original content, exclusive bonus episodes of your favorite podcasts, ad-free, archives, hundreds of stand-up comedy albums, and more. For a free month of Stitcher Premium, go to stitcherpremium.com/weirdal and use promo code Crucible.
Crucible.
Crucible. Guys, you will never guess what happened.
What?
So I'm out of town right now. First night I go out of town.
Drunk.
Mrs. calls me up. Well, I happen to be drunk, but that's not important to the story. First night I go out of town, Mrs. calls me up and she's like, hey, you'll never believe what happened. There's a rabbit in our yard right now. And it's like, okay, we live in California, big deal. And she's like, no, this is like a special rabbit. This is not a California rabbit. And she spends, long story short, the next like 2 to 3 days, basically takes vacation days, doesn't go to work, and spends the next 2 to 3 days like following this rabbit around at a distance. And he's just like living in our yard now. He's not a wild animal. He doesn't move very fast. He's not afraid of cats. He's not afraid of people. Like leaving food out for him, like trying to get close enough to touch him, but not really quite getting close enough. And then the moment it gets dark out, just like freaking out that he's going to get eaten by a coyote. And then after a very late night, she managed to corner him between the carport wall and the fence and catch him and bring him inside. And would you guys get a load of this fuzzy motherfucker? He's so fucking soft.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Birds has sent us a real photo of this animal.
Yeah. He just lives in my office and he just eats hay and cilantro and he shits everywhere and he nibbles on the crown molding and you're allowed to touch him. And he's the softest motherfucker in town.
That can't be good.
Well, we got a connection. We're taking him. Apparently, he's like a special rabbit. He's not a regular rabbit. He's like some fancy rabbit.
What'd you catch, a shiny?
Yeah, right. Oh, I mean, look how soft he looks. No, he's definitely really a special.
Soft.
That doesn't look like a wild.
No, it's not. It's not a hare. He's a delightful little bunny, and so yeah, we're taking him to the exotic vet to get him like check his microchip and figure it out.
Oh boy.
But do you guys want to know what his name is?
Do I? Yes.
His name is Kevin, of course.
Oh, all right.
Andrew, drop the beat.
It's starting to feel like I spent this whole year just staring out at windows and waiting for the rain to stop.
Wait, that's not.
Yes, it is, Swain. That was the intro. Welcome to the show, everyone else.
I feel like that should have been after the drop the beat. Like, he comes back and tells us the story. But, like, we're
yeah, you'd think, but no.
It wasn't. That was it. That was
the intro.
Before.
You guys want to know why he's named Kevin?
Yeah.
It's because we're watching Community now as our sleep show. And we just got to the spot in season 4 where Chang comes back, except he has Changnesia, and his name is Kevin now. And it seemed fitting for a confused little rabbit who showed up at our house one day and decided he lives here.
So the rabbit has Changnesia.
He's got Changnesia. That's canon.
We nicknamed our dog Obi Borpo, based off of because he looks like an idiot all the time. But we were watching 30 Rock the one night, and there's an episode where she's on the plane with some random like teenager, but she's like all like messed up on like I forget what, but she thinks the young woman is Oprah and she calls her Borpo. And that's why we call OB Borpo.
I love you, Borpo. Basically, I got 24 hours. I'm going to come home and I'm just going to touch this guy and pet him all over his fuzzy body.
Welcome to Crucible Radio.
Podcast for all things Destiny 2 PvP and rabbits.
Rabbit care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's us.
Hey guys, we made it. We forgot to even say anything, but it's just part of the day now. But we made it to like multiple years of this show.
Yep.
3 to be exact.
Wait, so we did 156, which means we finished 3 years of this show. That's crazy.
It's pretty wild.
That means like we're out of middle school now. We came to this thing elementary schoolers. Now we're ready to go off to high school.
We're freshmen.
Yep.
As you
can tell by the quality of the show.
Well, look, a lot of people don't know this. You're just listeners to podcasts. But as podcasters, we know this. And then inside the world of podcasting, you all go to podcast high school. Not every show makes it to high school. Not every show graduates middle school. It's tough to do. A lot of you have just been listening to 6th grade podcasts that are maybe just a one-off, like Serial or whatever. But we're in the big leagues now. We're about to get bullied by shows like Comedy Bang Bang and WTF with Mark Maron.
Yep.
And they're going to kick our ass. But then eventually we'll get to beat up on newer shows you've never even heard yet because they don't exist.
Yep.
That's how it works.
It's the circle of life.
Please no bully.
Grand tradition.
Please no bully. And what's this show about? Yeah, Destiny 2. And we did have 2 Bungie interviews. It was one split into 2 because there was so much juicy stuff that we didn't actually get to talk about Forsaken when it first dropped. So we're still digesting all this news. We still are getting to take in and talk about a lot of the stuff we've learned. And last week we
had a great interview last week, so that kept us going.
Yeah, and it was awesome. We learned about some like cool loadout functions. We got to talk about Gambit a little bit. Got to talk about the weapon system a little bit. But like, man, I'm still like excited. I'm still watching these Vidocs on mute at work, trying to like catch cool screenshots of new gear and
get a
stuff.
little glimpse. Oh, so I've not, I mean, clearly I've been on the road. I missed all the rabbit developments. I also have not gotten to play Destiny. How's your week going? It's banner right now, right?
It is.
So, I mean, last week we finished up the faction weeks, and there was a little bit of a celebration as Dead Orbit won. Not much from Dead Orbit that you can kind of be like, oh, you should go get the shotgun. You don't need to go get the shotgun. I don't even think it was worth the 50k glimmer if you didn't.
Well, it's important that we have it for a little while. We put it in our vaults, and then in a fit of zealous vault cleaning, we delete it, having not ever used it.
And then the very next day, they tweaked that archetype, and it's the best.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Actually, I'll tell you, on a lark, I applied Fallout's shotgun rules to the fast firing ones. And I picked out, I believe it's the Deicide. It's one of the fast firing ones, but I used his rules, right? This is the rule of the rules of thumb. You want something with full choke. Boom. Got it. You want something high impact. Well, I didn't go for high impact. I went for fast firing. And then from there, you want something with a range booster. And I got to say, in PvP, you do burn through ammo, but the at-range double tap is really quite effective. It's impressive how far out you can get the 2-tap with these ranged ones. And it looks good. I painted it yellow. It's very nice. I like it.
Yeah. I've been playing with the Balligant, which is one of the shotguns known to be consistent at range. That and the deadpan delivery, I believe, and it feels pretty good. It's nice getting those solid, nice rangy kills. But I do think, just in general, for a majority of Destiny play, I think both sort of ends of the spectrum of shotguns have a place in this game. I think definitely in stuff like quick play or 6v6, especially now that that's going to be all of quick play.
Which is crazy, by the way.
Yeah.
Not ready for that.
Yeah, a faster firing shotgun works really great because you can push into a group. I mean, sometimes it's the same with any slow rate of fire thing or like a high impact fusion rifle. You get overwhelmed in a group and, you saw them, you got the jump, but you don't have the time to get that second or third enemy. And sometimes with faster firing, just get nice and close. A lot of shotgun kills come from, inside melee range. So I think you have a lot of options there. If you like the perfect paradox or something like that, go for it. I've been getting killed a lot by that lately, and I think there's good variety to be had. So it's nice to feel like either option is good, depending on your playstyle.
All of this hot air about shotguns. But I really wanted to address the fact that in the TWAB this week, they say that the faction weapons, like the ones that you get for the faction winning, are not going to be put into the loot pool after this. So it's different in season 3. It'll operate differently than past seasons. During the season, the factions will continue to feature their original winners' offerings for all 3 events. So that beautiful sidearm for the Future War Cult, you gotta hope that they win.
Yeah, y'all better fucking pledge to Future War. Let's all just collectively decide who's going to win next, but everyone's got to win one, because if I don't get this thing, I'm going to be very unhappy. This is the problem with the jungle primary people.
Yeah, so I'm just saying here now, everyone pledge to Future War Cult next time around. That's the plan. We go from Dead Orbit to Future War Cult, and then we're going to do New Monarchy last, because there's nothing there except for shaders.
Yep. And that's just fine.
And Future War Cult deserves at least one win in the first year of this game.
Yeah, come on, guys, come on. They got that cool room.
Even I freaking abandoned them like immediately. They announced these changes. I'm like, yeah, I'll do Dead Orbit first. Sounds good. I didn't even.
I did Future War Cult first, and I don't regret it. Like, I'm a Sunshot Catalyst.
Yo, the Graviton Catalyst is gonna take forever for me.
Yeah. I started playing that. I just ran around for level 1 EP for like 45 minutes, just firing at Thrall with Graviton, and I looked and I was just like 5%, like nothing had happened.
What do you mean 5%? I was very content with okay, this is just going to happen naturally over time, and I'm in no rush.
Boo!
Yeah, I'm gonna go
not
do
trying
that.
to cheese things.
I'm gonna do that though. To go to the weird little door where
go to the cave.
Yeah, enemies come out and then alt tab away while they all explode.
I have to say, because I did that dumb little cave, which by the way doesn't even work properly on PC. You don't get the infinite chain reaction on PC. You get like 3 or 4 at best, and you got to do it over again.
Oh, God.
And what I learned in the process was all sorts of mechanics I think I now kind of understand for how the world events are scripted, and when things are like, here's the thing, you want to go trigger that cave, I'll tell you again when the faction rally comes around, but you need to go off to the side and kill the other ones that spawn there and keep changing them over until you get the Hydra that come out, and that triggers the enemies are moving against each other. I think I read about it on the internet and I eventually got it done. It was fine. Sure is nice to have that catalyst, though.
I'm glad you learned something from that experience.
It's just like, it's one of those things where it's so supremely boring that you think like, I'll just learn something about game design in the process of
I've stared at this one pixel so much that I think I've figured something out.
I understand everything related to this pixel. Well, in addition to that fine detail, we also got word of some more exotic tunings, exotic armor tunings in this TWAB. Think people are going to stop using Wormhusk?
No.
Seems unlikely.
Should we go through these?
Let's do the hunter ones and let's give them a fair shake, because many a time we have scoffed at things before on paper and then realized in person, oh wow, they're actually pretty good. Like we just weren't thinking to use them right. And you know, maybe that could be what's happening here. Maybe this Lucky Raspberry really is better than Wormhusk.
Maybe possibly. I'm just so good at this now from 3 years of podcasting that I just know what the changes are going to do once I read them. All right, birds. I'm in high school now. All right.
Yeah,
it's true. Time for us to realize that we are older and wiser, and maybe we just know exactly how this is going to play out by reading the descriptions. Okay.
Yep. I sure did know absolutely everything in high school. I vaguely recall being the case at the time. Okay. So first up, Lucky Raspberry, increased chance to fully recharge your Arc Bolt Grenade on Arc Bolt Grenade hits. Guarantees a recharge on getting a full chain that hits 4 targets. And the reasoning here is that while just about everybody could appreciate the theoretically infinite grenades Lucky Raspberry could generate, its purely random nature made many people shy away from it. With this change, your input will now affect the outcome, so plan your throws accordingly.
Feels like a PvE one.
It feels like a PvE thing, right? Like it seems like an easily abusable thing in PvE, because consistently hitting 4 enemies in PvE is like not super challenging, right? They bunch up. It happens. But PvP still seems like a long shot. Although I wonder, with 6s in quick play now, even outside of Banner. But imagine playing regular Control 6s. Imagine how many people will indulge their impulse to stand on the point with everybody else, even though 4 is not necessary. Or, like people all fighting over heavy, or it still seems pretty unlikely. I don't know.
Yeah, the Arc Strider builds right now. If we look back on the conversation. If you look back on the conversations we had with Drewski, I mean, it was all about use your mods and get your grenades back. They already do have a lot of that at their disposal, and especially with the skill tree that lets you charge them up and stuff like that, like Special K talked about last week. So I don't know if Lucky Raspberry immediately goes like, "Ooh, this is the one you want for so many grenades," because they do have Arc Bolt grenades up pretty frequently as it is, and when Wormhusk is on the table. I don't know, but maybe the pure consistency of this exotic does make it appealing for certain builds like Rumble or something.
Yeah, didn't Lucky Raspberry in D1, didn't that make sure you spawned with a grenade every time you spawned? Or spawned with an Arc Bolt? Was that the one?
I think it did, because I think it functioned like the Voidfang Vestments, which did the same, which ended up being so good they were usable with Sunsinger, even though... they had Axion Bolt perk on it and stuff too. But yeah, I believe both of those did function similarly.
I just remember never taking Lucky Raspberry off. I mean, to be fair, even though it seems like in PvP, getting the full chain that hits 4 targets seems unlikely, it is Arc Bolt Grenade. You get a chance to recharge on Arc Bolt Grenade hits. So even if you're not hitting 4, hitting 3 still seems like it accounts for, it's not 4, but it's more than 1. And we don't know how big this increased chance is. I mean, I think even in D2, using Lucky Raspberry a little bit, like you get your grenade back. It's a thing that happens. They're going to have to do something about this Wormhusk, though. Let's just assume Wormhusk doesn't exist for the purpose of this conversation.
Okay, well, let's factor that in for the rest. For the couple other ones, Hunter got 3 exotics changed. And the next one is the Stomp Ease. It's not spelled like that, but that's how we're calling it. And it increased the benefits when using strafe jump and triple jump. Now, like they say in the TWAB here, this was really just pigeonholed into the one jump, the double jump, because that's what it benefited directly. And, I think a lot of hunters like triple jump and stuff. So this just lets you sort of use the jump you like, and they're more passive exotic that gives you a great aerial boost. This could be appealing in some scenarios. I'm not exactly sure, but I mean, what were the Bones of Ahamkara were really, really popular in D1 because you could jump really, really far. And I don't know.
I can't believe you don't remember. It's Bones like Yao.
Yeah. Right. Bones of Yao. I forget how many Bones variants there are. Honestly, there's so many skeletons on our bodies now from this game. But yes, I don't know. It could be an answer to that. It could be convenient. You could just want to equip those in raid jumps and stuff like that. So it's nice. I like putting Mida on for certain puzzles or just wanting to get somewhere fast. So it doesn't have to be like, oh, this makes me kill so good. It's just a nice like quality of life exotic to have on your inventory.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, well, let's not forget Stompies come with a base increase to sprint speed and slide distance. And that's nice. You get used to that, whether it's Stompies or transversive steps. Like you really grow quite accustomed to that healthy little boost. One question I have about this is that it gives increased benefits when using strafe jump and triple jump. And I wonder, is this a height benefit, which I don't particularly want? The reason I use strafe jump is because I'm using my jump to move around. I want to control and I want to get that speed boost from it. And so I kind of wonder what increased benefits means here. It's a little bit vague, even though we are as mature as brand new high schoolers now. I still wonder, what does this mean? Benefit could mean anything. Maybe benefit means it starts recharging your health right away, and this thing is a real Wormhusk contender.
As long as you stay in the air entirely, you can never take damage.
There you go. You don't know that's not the case.
Yeah. The hang time you can get with something like Stompies can almost, work against your best interests in the Crucible if you get caught out in the open and you just cannot fall back to the earth fast enough. So yeah, gonna see how this one plays out. Not much to gain by the description just yet.
And then finally, in the Hunter section, we've got young Ahamkara's spine, which I feel like I really got my fill of.
The bones of young Ahamkara's spine of Yao.
There you go.
Right.
Okay, so they got rid of the marking functionality, which I'm going to be honest, I did not remember that they had because I barely used it. They increased the blast radius, which is nice, which I think is a real material help for these to make these viable in PvP. And increases the throw speed, which I guess I never really thought about, but I suppose couldn't hurt. Makes them harder to destroy, which seems... Okay, so it's going to like take 2 hand cannon shots or 3 hand cannon, or have they reduced the hitbox on it even more, which actually seems kind of nice. But they do now have solar ability hits now grant some trip mine grenade energy. And that's nice because I think this really reinforces a throwing grenade build. And I'll tell you, I mentioned last week putting together a max solar melee mod throwing grenade build. And I actually did give it a shot, and I used that unpalatable bottom tree in PvP, but I really tried to chain together my my headshot knives with it. And you know what? I hit a couple, and it was funny. And I think people were not expecting to die to a throwing knife to the face, and I got a lot of satisfaction out of it. And so to know that this is like a nice back and forth kind of thing with your throwing knife and your trip mine grenade, I think it's nice. Makes sense. But it gets interesting when we go to Titan.
Yeah, Titan.
More punchy for sure. Right at the bat, right out the gate. The
just
ACD,
when you thought you would never take your glowy, veiny arms off.
Yep.
I know it was accurate. I just didn't like that description.
Has the word veiny been ruined forever?
Probably.
There's no going back.
Yeah, what are you using it for if not for being weird or accurately describing a video game armor? Anyways, yeah, first up is this big one, the feedback fence. Already a pretty strong one. I think
solid choice.
Yeah, pre-Synthesep buff. This was good. No questions. And now it seems to get even better. It grants Fury Conductor stacks on melee hits instead of kills. And Fury Conductors now grants stacking melee damage resistance. Basically, this makes it better in PvE. So it's not just the little things that touch you, because you weren't really in danger from that. Now maybe a bigger thing, you're protected from that. But it looks pretty powerful in the Crucible. I mean, people are going to be dying from like just the static shock, and you can charge that up with just hits now. It seems pretty awesome.
That's one of those things. It's like, you're already getting your free kills, like your trades with this. So why not put this on and like maybe get some, free kills without trades?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think this does a very specific thing, which it buffs it up to compete with Syntheseps again.
Right.
Syntheseps, I forget what the perk is called, but where you've got multiple enemies in close distance, and with a charged melee, at least on Sentinel, you could one-shot people, which is hilarious.
You could one-shot people on every class. Well, every subclass.
Yes. If you're proccing it and you're taking that risk. I think this this does something similar with Feedback Fence. What I think this really does is it reinforces the shoulder charge kind of moves on Titans, because now if you can shoulder charge into a group and because again, this is stacking on melee hits instead of kills, if you can manage to tag 2 or 3 people with your shoulder charge, this is granting you a 3 stack on Fury Conductor, and you've also got melee damage resistance. You have to commit, but this seems like a great way to start a fantastic slap fight that you are much more likely to win, even when you're outnumbered.
They're also changing the Doomfang pauldrons, which is something I've never equipped outside of the first exotic. I go, ooh,
that's
shiny,
basically it.
Shiny purple arms.
It does look good.
The changes are going to be void melee kills now grant more super energy, and shield throw hits will now extend the duration of your super. So I don't see ever putting these on still. Simply because it was like, when I'm throwing this shield, I'm usually towards the end of my super anyway. Mm-hmm. Or like,
you do one at the beginning and one at the end.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
So I don't know. That's something that I've never really felt like I need it.
I think the game does change a little bit. If you're talking 6v6, I think classes with big, powerful supers do really well in those modes, just because there's more targets to hit and they're close together. Like, I mean, Sunbreaker is very, 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 very solid in 6v6. Those hammers are so good. Even though it's neutral game, to me is like much weaker than my Sentinel neutral game. So I could see it being appealing for that reason. Like, this is the
really
big play.
Depends on the super, like how much. Like, is it drastic? If so, then yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and with this Sentinel super, you do a lot of moving around with it, but that sucks down the super energy. And sometimes, you could be like, oh, I just like can't make it to that next guy, even though I have a lot of mobility. I just don't have the duration. So if they can extend that, you might be able to stretch it into multiple kills when you might have otherwise just got 1 or 2, which, I don't know, could be good in a clutch situation. The Sentinel neutral game is still very strong. I love playing to that. I love playing to the melees and getting my health back in an overshield. That's awesome. So Syntheseps to me have always been so fun. But I don't know. I think there's stuff to work with here, and it'd also be cool if you ever saw this subclass in PvE. Not that that's at the point of our show, but we'll see.
Well, speaking of PvE, I have to assume this next exotic, this is really focused on the PvE change. This is, of course, Dune Marchers. Dune Marchers, I like their comment here. These are the sprint pants for Titan. And I really came to like them as the sprint pants for Titan, especially that increased slide distance. But it turns out they actually have a lightning effect. The thing about this lightning effect is that it doesn't hurt your enemy. You charge it up by sprinting, but it doesn't hurt your enemy that you melee attack. It chains this damage to nearby enemies. So, less likely to use in PvE. So the changes we see is really around this. It reduced the linear actuator time from 5 seconds down to 1.5 seconds, which, okay, now you can consistently proc it. In PvP, this still seems pretty high risk, but they've also increased the damage of the chain lightning effect. So plus 70% in PvP, plus 440% in PvE. I am guessing this is mostly a PvE change. I could see, just running up and punching a thrall in the center and just nuking everything within a radius. This makes sense.
Yeah, I could see myself messing with this just because I like that play. I think like if it happens once a match, cool. That sounds fun to just charge in there, use a shoulder charge for big damage this time rather than to just go thunk against someone and then worry about punching them, because, I like the shoulder charge. I think it's a awesome mechanic and has been for a long time. But yeah, it's a little risky to do unless you know an enemy is absolute. And if they're absolute, why need a shoulder charge? There's a billion ways to clean them up. So I don't know. What if this rewards people for charging into a group of people stupidly and shoulder charging someone? That'd be cool if that could be usable. The stuff that makes this game a little more aggressive and faster and rewarding when you're fighting up close sounds fun to me. It sounds like something this game needs. And that's actually a huge part of why I like one of these Warlock changes. Are you guys okay if we move on?
Go on.
I think so.
So, all right, well, we'll go this down the list. So we're not getting to my favorite just yet, but Crown of Tempests. I read this description and I was like, what are these words? Because I don't remember these perks. And I wish it's
not gotten a lot of play.
Yeah, I wish they spoke a little more generically because I don't totally know what this means. But collapse the total number of stacks of conduction tines to 3.
Let's rewind a little bit here. In case you'd forgotten, and we all remembered off the top of our heads, but in case you had forgotten, the perk on Crown of Tempests, which sure is cool looking, is Conduction Tines. Arc ability kills increase the recharge rate of your arc abilities. So this is something that rewards you for saving your melee and we're talking on Stormcaller here, saving your melee to make sure it's a finishing move, or timing that pulse grenade, or just placing it well so you're not just wearing people down, you're actually getting the kill with it. If you're really doing finishing moves with your abilities, they recharge faster. Is this one, does it currently stack? Well, nobody knows, but we can now read this perk and understand what it means.
Yeah, no, they're collapsed to a lower number. Okay. The stack is collapsed.
So at most three times stack, which seems good that there's fewer number, because killing more than 3 people with a single grenade in PvP seems ambitious.
Yeah, and the effect from it won't be so small increments. You'll be like, oh, I feel it after 1, rather than kind of feeling it after 1. Let me get to 4, and then hopefully I'll be feeling.
Look at this from the perspective of the ability loadout that Special K suggested last week, that if you are going to play Storm Trance, instead of just having a bunch of generic boost to recovery and armor modifications on your gear, do ability recharges, have your melee and grenade up as much as you can, take advantage of getting kills and getting those back. I think this can play right into that build he suggested, and it makes use of the top tree Stormcaller, which is not seeing a lot of play right now at all, if ever. So who knows? Like, it could be that sort of glass cannon build, which is, yeah, you might be a little fragile, but you have tons of abilities all the time. And if you can keep those up and use them consistently in every single engagement, who knows?
I will also point out, because I find this fascinating, that you can get 2 ability boosting mods on every subclass, but to get a combo of 3 boosters, so this could be 3 arc grenades, or 3 solar class mods, or 3 void melee mods, There's only one subclass that you can do each of those on, and it is worth pointing out that on Stormcaller, they're well chosen. I made a chart, and the results were shocking. And they were thoughtfully chosen. That Stormcaller is the only class that can get the 3x melee mod going on. So if you really love that Stormcaller melee, which I get, it's awesome, and you really want to focus on it, I think Crown of Tempest really makes sense now as a choice. Ophidian aspect's still nice, but if you really just live for that Stormcaller melee, you now have an exotic that really enforces that loop that you're already getting with the very fast melee cooldown. Mm-hmm. It's really quite a spreadsheet I've put together here, boys. It's very impressive.
We're sciencing some shit this week. We're all out.
Just love it.
All right, I want to talk about this next one. This is the big one. This is really the only one that stands out to me this week from these changes. I've been playing a ton of Voidwalker lately. I know I just pick a new main every episode. Sorry, folks. But
it happens.
I like it. I think it's working well for me. I like it with Huckleberry. I like it for any SMG. I've been practicing Devour, trying to chain those kills and keep my health up. And it's tough, but I feel good. And in a recovery meta, it's nice to have my Rift and a grenade. Here we have the Karnstein armlets. They're not amulets. I've said amulets maybe on this show.
Yeah.
They're armlets.
That's because amulet is a word. And what the fuck is an armlet? Is it a tiny arm?
Yeah. It sounds like a T-Rex would have armlets. So I'll say those wrong for forever here on out, but just know that I know in this moment. They removed the effects that were in existence and they've changed it to melee kills now instantly heal you, then grant continuous healing for 8 seconds. That's awesome. We're in a recovery meta. This is instant heal just like Devour. It's not the proc recharge like a lot of perks. That's what makes Devour so insanely strong. It's just, you got your full health. And now this grants continuous healing. With Devour, you do need more kills. You get your health back right away, but you got to kill them. And you can get in a bad spot if you're too weak. This is going to keep your health up. Depending on how strong that is, I don't know. Does it change the amount of bullets it takes to kill you? Do you have an extra shot in your hand cannon in a duel because your health is coming back in between the first 3 or 4 shots? I don't know, but that's huge, especially if you're just ducking into cover and you can get back into the action. I think these are huge. I think this is good. And for the first time in a very long time, I could see myself taking off the Ophidian aspect and maybe pulling out the Dawnblade. Because Dawnblade is going to be great with this perk. I think it's big.
I have to say I also appreciate. So there's a comment here in the description. While the effect is much more basic now, it should be more reliable and more effective in most situations. And I appreciate that. Currently, Karnstein armlets, they do a bunch of stuff. They grant increased resilience and mobility on attack and highlight injured enemies in addition to having the health effects. I mean, this was something that we had talked about with Special K about reading your perks and really trying to build a build around them. But that's just too many things. It's too many things to keep track of. I'm not going to remember to abuse and take advantage of all of those things every time I happen to put on this exotic. I like that it's simple. And if anyone asks, like, oh, what did Karnstein? What? I just got those. What do they do? We'll say, oh, yeah, if you kill someone with a melee while wearing them, you become an immortal death machine. Yeah, you should use them. They're fun.
I think this change most notably does what I think what they're trying to do with a lot of, and it reminds me of a conversation we had with Noosk and Hamrick on the show recently, and just how they've been changing the exotics, the weapons included, to just like do what they do more often, because we know they went in with a little bit more cautious approach so that you wouldn't have a gun like Icebreaker, which is just equip always, shut up, just do it. But, like before Graviton Lance got good, it did have a sweet explosion thing. It just only killed someone 1 out of 100 times. And just having something do what it does every time is what we really want out of these things. So I'm seeing that across the board here. Just a stronger consistency. And just like, I'm wearing this for it to do one thing and do one thing cool. So I want that to happen every time I use it, that kind of thing.
Yep. Straightforward.
Last but something. This Starfire Protocol. I'm sorry.
Don't be unkind.
I know. I don't get this one. Someone's gonna have to show me a clip. I don't understand, but it grants fusion grenade energy on empowering rift weapon damage, and that's just not enough to get me. I don't know.
I imagine this is in addition to the base perk of getting an extra grenade. I think this makes more sense when you consider the base class, right? They give you an extra grenade, they charge faster, and fusion grenade kills grant rift energy. Now this change makes a bit more sense. You now have empowering rift weapon damage grant fusion grenade energy. Mm-hmm. So now you've got a play loop here. It seems like a very PvE play loop because empowering rift, we like our healing. But essentially, your grenade gives you rift charge and your rift gives you grenade charge. It's a thing, it's a thing.
The circle of life.
Just add control and consistent coverage when you're getting swarmed and stuff like that. I can see that in PvE. From a totally PvP perspective, it's tough because empowering rift is a risk because it's not boosting your crit damage. It's not drastically increasing time to kill. So it's, have a gunfight, but you can only move a little bit instead of having more options. So I don't see it getting a lot of play there. But yeah, I see that. I see that sort of cycle, that sort of OODA loop of the gear. And maybe it is good for just being the one-man army when you're in a raid or something like that.
If you're just listening to the show for the first time, you're probably wondering what an OODA loop is. I don't know. Scroll back until you find the episode where we talk about it.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
It's in the title. I think you should spot it. OODA in all caps.
It's a loop. That's for sure.
So those are the exotic changes. We don't have them in our hands just yet. As always, we've got to take that disclaimer when we read patch notes ahead of when they're implemented. But we are big time high schoolers now. We're very smart. So I imagine our guesses are pretty close to being good. Wait, they're good.
They're pretty close to being perfect.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, well, that's enough of the exotic armor updates. It's nice. It's nice that they're changing. I like some freshness in my exotic armor, even if it's just switching back to the feedback fences. But variety, spice of life, and all that.
It's like getting a whole new exotic without having to get a whole new exotic.
That is kind of a great feature of it. I can just go to the vault and pick it up.
Yeah, right. Hold on to it for a bit.
So we wanted to talk a little bit more about Gambit, and more specifically that we will be talking about it on this show. Like I said, we didn't really get to just dive in right when it got announced, but it's been out and about. Was it E3 that's wrapped up? There was a lot of game footage and stuff, and we're really excited for this mode because it is competitive, and we're about getting better. We're about kicking ass. That's our. We say that all the time. This show's
kick
about
ass
kicking
and
ass.
Make montages.
Yeah. So yes, we're going to talk about Gambit, and there's going to be a meta to this. There's going to be strategies and stuff. It's going to be all that good stuff we like on the show.
It's own flavor of weapons and stuff, because like we talked about last week, there's going to be builds that you're going to want to have mostly up for the PvE aspect. Yeah. And then when that person invades, you're going to be like, oh, I'm ready. Or you might be unprepared. You've got something in your secondary slot that's like, oh, this is not the choice for this. This is more so taking down, a knight or taking down the big boss. But
yeah, I was thinking about
strategy to it.
The PvP loadout I like a lot right now is not good for controlling ads. I'm using Dire Promise and an SMG like some sort of tryhard, and that's probably not the best. I mean, I don't want two short range weapons. And I got to have stuff that's good for mob control and also boss DPS. So I really like that there is this sort of challenge. And, you know, the game has always existed in the same place. They want your gear to feel the same when you do the same activities. That's been important. But since the dawn of Destiny, we've sort of been able to adhere to this thing like, okay, here's my Crucible stuff. Let's equip this. And here's my PvE stuff. And I have this very clearly. I have my raid gear and my raid weapons, and they're set up. So I just switch to that. But now you have to get a little bit of both. And you got to think like, what serves me best in all instances? And am I gonna be like, is there any point to sending me over if I've just got all my raid crap on and I've got guns with ambitious assassin or something like that? So I'm interested to see how it plays out, especially with the new weapon system.
You know, I was thinking about this because I had one of those moments. I figured we were doing like escalation protocol or something, but I had my PvP loadout on and we were in an ad control mode, and I realized, wow, in a PvE context, you sure do spend a lot of time reloading with these guns.
Oh God.
Using steady hand and having to reload every 8 shots on my slow firing hand cannon is a little bit frustrating. So I think what I wonder is, I mean, you know, it seems like a PvE mode first and foremost. Getting those kills, turning in your tokens is what really moves it along. The PvP is there to disrupt that, but it's not going to win you games on its own. I wonder, I mean, do you focus on, with your team, having some people who are high volume ad clearers and somebody else who has really optimized their build and their super? Maybe, Swain, you told a story about the new Night Stalker going invis and going through and sort of optimizing for that. Do you divvy your team up? Do you kind of have everyone be an all-arounder so you're ready to take out the person who comes over? I mean, consider that the person who's invading, they are going into a 4v1, right? You know, They basically are going to have time to either get their super off or not. You know, maybe go on a power weapon tear, although with everyone running around with 3 shotguns.
You also see different like change ups between like supers, because there's definitely supers that I prefer using in PvE to like clean up large areas or to stay in a position. Whereas like something like suppressing someone or something super aggressive where you're getting in their face doesn't always work the best when you're just trying to kill some thralls. So that person, like if you can identify it like right off the bat, be like, oh, this person is using the new the new Night Stalker, like they're going to be the one that invades, like for sure. Like that's the person that we have to watch out for. So analyzing the other team and being like, oh yeah, this is their loadout. They're very clearly, you know, specking for this. Or maybe we should try and counter it. Like we got to know, like pay attention. Or maybe they don't. Like maybe you focus on your world and you simply just like, we're going to burn this boss down as quickly as possible so they can't even get a chance.
Yeah, I wonder how much that invasion really impacts the flow of things. Does it just completely alter the score if that invader just wipes the team out, or can you kind of just recover from it? Well, and can you just do something like, oh, you know what? I'm a golden gun with Nighthawk. I'll melt the boss for us, and like just disregard the invasion. I
think the best way to kind of explain it is the escalation protocol boss where the thralls explode and heal them. Mm-hmm. You got to think of it that way. So like when you die, think of it like that's what's healing the boss. Like if you get killed by someone from the other room, you're going to take a step back on like essentially an escalation protocol level boss. Like it's going to take that long to like take them down. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to like put the damage in slowly but surely. And then like to have someone come in like and just kill like one of your guys, or like if they got a team wipe and it came all the way back up, that's worth it for them to send that person through.
Definitely.
Or like you could be like I said, you know, if you kill them, you got the leg up. Like you're not going to have to worry about the other team because they only have 3 people.
Swain, when you were playing it, I mean, how big an impact does the invader have on the outcome of the game? I mean, I imagine, once we're a season into this, we're all going to be really, really good at clearing these specific ads in these specific stages. We will have our loadouts and our play styles optimized. And so in that case where it's just super close to neck and neck when you've got two similarly matched teams, that a person coming in and pulling off a team wipe, that could give you the lead that you need, both in terms of buying time to get more kills and also, throwing off the sort of super timers and all that. But I wonder if it doesn't make more sense to sort of focus on PvE unless the other team is really a threat, at which point you might want to make some concessions to shut them down when they come over.
I mean, it's really all about thinking, okay, is this going to, you could even just go into their world and distract them. You don't even have to do an aggressive push.
Yeah.
You could just go in and pepper them with shots from really far away. Or you could, like we said before, you're going to be coming from a PvE environment where you're full up on rockets or sniper ammo.
That's true.
And you don't even have to get close to the other team to mess with them. So it's going to be pretty interesting, what that entails. Because someone coming through could definitely take advantage of all of that, that power spike that a PvE player would have.
In Gambit, when you invade, I mean, how long do you have on the other side? Do you have until you die? Could you theoretically spend the rest of the match over there?
No, you will get pulled back.
Them?
The guy will tell you, you've got 10 seconds left. I'm pulling you back. Your time is limited.
Yeah, you gotta really choose your time in there.
Yeah, the strength of that option is that you are stronger. You have more armor, or you have a damage resistance, sort of like a buff, and you do get your opponents marked on the map. So you invade, and it's not I'm here. Where are they? You do see them.
The announcer
marked.
Also will tell you. What is his name? The Drifter. He
Mr. Gambit.
Mr. Gambit. He yells out where they're when an intruder comes in, he'll be like, "Intruder coming from this section of the map."
Yeah.
And if you know your map, you'll know, oh, that's where they're coming from. And it's a little bit, it's a lot more detailed than you'd think.
Another piece of information we actually learned was that there's a lot of varieties to the game. And this is just a detail on will it get boring or not. But yeah, there's multiple maps with different types of enemies and different bosses and variations to that. So there will be a little bit of at least adjusting on the fly and thinking, okay, I don't have this one thing that's perfect no matter what. When I play Gambit, you will have to probably make adjustments and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see how that plays out, just because with any PvE activity, it doesn't have that just pure new variety of the Crucible where someone just goes somewhere else instead of that bad guy is going to come out of that door and walk to this point on the map. I will kill him when he arrives, that kind of thing.
Yeah, less predictive. Now, the gist of it is we will be covering, as you could tell, we enjoy talking about it. So
we just needed a chance to vent, man. E3 was happening, and I'm like, oh, we got to put out a Bungie episode. I just want to talk about this.
Yeah.
And how will I manage to play Gambit with 3 bows on me? Who knows? We'll find out. Stay tuned, because it's going to happen. Well, folks, that's it. We are going to be back next week with a guest. Stay tuned. I'm pretty hype about this one. And we'll be talking more about Forsaken, but also we got stuff to work on in the meantime. As always, that's always true. But we've got a ton of homework right now. We just got 8 syllabi, and we got to practice. And already I'm overwhelmed, and the pressure of everyone dresses differently in high school now. So I just have to go. Okay, guys, I have to go.
Yep, lots to do.
We used to be such good friends, and now all you want to do is hang out with your new girlfriend.
Look, I've got tryouts, all right? I'm going to make the team.
Which team again?
The team.
Oh, varsity team.
I'm going to make varsity.
All right, I'm calling it. Everybody, thank you for stopping by and dealing with our shenanigans.
And we'll hopefully that bunny makes it out alive. Kevin recovers fully from his Changnesia. More updates next week.
Kevin, go home. Stop shitting in my office.
Oh, God.
I don't know how you're allowing that.
I'm just not there. Here's a rabbit fact. Rabbits eat hay. They poop in the hay. And then they casually eat the hay and the poop, and they digest it all over again, and they poop it out, and they just keep eating and pooping forever. That's what happens when your main diet ingredient is hay.
You want a rabbit fact, birds?
Yeah.
Rabbits love going to crucibleradio.com and checking out everything we have to do.
Deft.
And
Deft.
keep an eye on it. We got some coolly designed stuff coming soon.
Ooh.
Some shirts. I think.
Baby.
Maybe a hat. I need a new hat, so I'm pressuring for a hat. If you want a new hat, let Bones know on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rabbits love hats.
Yeah. If your rabbit needs a new snapback hat, go to crucibleradio.com.
Text. No, wait. Stop. Delete this.
555.
Delete that, Andrew.
Rabbit.
555 rabbit. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, okay. That's how the internet works.
All right.
Bye, folks.
See you next week, guys.
Bye.
No one's gonna save me, so I guess I'll save myself.
We've got music this week coming to you from Overset. Their debut EP is out now. Go check them out. It's facebook.com/OversetUK. If you are a musician and you want to hear your music on Crucible Radio, well, let me tell you, it couldn't be simpler. It all starts when you send an email to crucibleradio@gmail.com.
I won't be left feeling so weak. Know that I can't take defeat. Yeah, I'm gonna make it. 'Cause I'm getting better every day. I'm holding on. I know something's gonna give, but I don't know if I can handle this. I won't let go. No, it's not a cry for help. No one's gonna save me, so I guess I'll save myself.
What's up, everyone? Bones here. Do you like podcasts? Do you like chill conversation? Well, me and my co-host Swain and Birds put out a bonus podcast every month on Patreon. If you want to check it out and be a part of more awesome stuff, head over to patreon.com/crucibleradio and join the squad. See you there.